Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Dadas show, coming to you from Wama Africa here in Nairobi. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. As our name suggests, the Dadas show aspires to promote a spirit of sisterhood and unity and brings together all Kenyan women. We aim to create a safe and open platform that women can be able to discuss all the issues pertaining to their health, their lifestyle, their well-being, their career, their families, and any other topic that influences or affects any decision that they make. Now, today's topic is one very exciting one, especially since we are heading into wedding season. So today's topic is the do's and the don'ts before you say I do. It's a well-known fact that most women dream about their wedding day since they were little girls. From the beautiful gown to the flowers, the decor, the oohs and the ahs they will get as they walk down the aisle to their Prince Charming. Now, it's also a well-known fact that weddings are not a cheap feat. I mean, industries are built around this very one day, and in some cultures, 1 week. Now, there are a myriad of ways that can happen to turn your happiest day to be your worst. The list is endless. You know, the food can run out. Your families can get into fights. You know, the weather can also do a complete flip, and from being sunny, it can become rainy. However, one happens to top my list and makes me cringe every single time I think about it. I think about a situation where one vendor or a supplier can come demanding their unpaid dues smack in the middle of a wedding toast or a reception. I mean, just the thought of it makes me cringe. So today we will find out from experts. First, we will have an opportunity to talk to a couple who had let's just say a harrowing experience, you know, in a bid to learn from it. But we will also talk from experts to learn and to understand the do's and the don'ts. So brides and bridegrooms to be, this is a show that you do not want to miss. Of course, we want to keep the conversation going on all our social media platforms at the KBC Channel 1. So please interact with us. Tell us your experience, because I know the experiences are so many out there, especially in relation to your big day. Give us your opinion and your thoughts on our show, on this show, on any other show we've recorded before. And keep us tuned. Of course, we welcome any feedback coming from you. So before we roll into this very exciting topic, let's take a look at the following feature.
The wedding industry has become a leading source of income for entrepreneurs, generating over 30 billion shillings a year, according to data from Samantha Bridal. In Kenya, over 28,000 couples tie the knot, and about 5 million weddings are conducted in Africa. The cost ranges from 500,000 shillings to the more extravagant 43 million shillings, including the honeymoon. During the wedding, everyone is waiting for the big reveal of the bridal gown when the bride walks down the aisle, as each bride wants to make an unforgettable statement.
People put a lot of importance on their wedding day. It's one of the biggest days of their lives. They're making a huge decision. They're making a crossover in their status in life. On top of that, they are also spending a hell of a lot of money to create this gown. Lots of pictures are going to be taken. So they feel very deeply and very strongly about this dress. So for us, there's a lot of pressure to make sure that we meet that expectation. But then even for us, like, we want to see our brides happy.
Ogake Mosumi, a fashion designer, has been making wedding gowns for over 7 years now.
I was inspired by many things. First of all, growing up, I was very petite, and I couldn't find clothes for myself. So I always felt like I wanted to design for people like me who couldn't find something for them in the market, something cute in the market. And then also I was inspired by my parents. I think both of them are creative. And there was always that sort of like creative energy going on in the house. So those are some of the things which inspired me.
While making wedding gowns, Ogake has had varied experience with different brides.
So the part of making wedding gowns doesn't vary so much. Like a gown, it's almost as if to say a gown is a gown in a sense, because the processes that you go through are kind of similar. The specifics in terms of the aesthetics might differ, and that's where the fun is. So helping a bride bride realize her dream wedding gown is a lot of fun for us. There's challenging bits where we're trying out things which we've never done before. That's always exciting. But then it can also be extremely stressful, because at the end of the day, a wedding gown, I think, is the most emotive dress that someone will ever wear.
Budgeting for a wedding dress helps in managing expectation when shopping for one.
It's a point of frustration for us because, of course, for us, we'd like to be able to, create gowns which are out of this world, but we are also trying to be realistic and make sure that we are not making people, sell their houses or sell their cars in order to make a wedding gown. So finding the balance and maybe also helping people to see how we can realize their dreams or get close to their dreams within the budget that they have.
Wedding on a budget for any couple can be achieved by knowing how your wedding should look like.
Life is not so linear. We can afford to do with less, or we can change what luxury looks like. So I can still do an amazing wedding on a budget. Maybe it means that I cut down the number of people. So rather than having 1,000 people at my wedding, I have 50 people who I really care about, and then I can channel my money into the things that I really, really care about.
Here are some of the do's and don'ts for any bride shopping for a gown.
For starters, make sure that you have a budget and make sure that you are working within your means. If you have a little bit of leeway, of course, make the dress of your dreams. But then the other thing is, I'd also say is be true to yourself. Create a gown which is memorable for you, because you will be looking at those photos for the rest of your life. That album is yours. So we have a tendency as women, we like to travel in packs or to bring our squad when we are coming to choose a dress. It's a good thing, but maybe sometimes you also want to just meet your designer by yourself. That first reconnaissance meeting, just go by yourself, have an honest discussion, figure out exactly what it is that you want for your gown before now you integrate other people, because what tends to happen, those many voices, you end up wearing a dress which was not yours.
Even as the wedding industry keeps on growing, one needs to look out when picking a vendor to avoid being conned.
Welcome back. So joining me today on my panel, we have Noreen Masharia, who happens to be a wedding planner, et al., par excellence. Is that the right word? And then next to her, we have Chris and Eva Ngao. Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for taking time. We rarely have the full unit. We always have one side of the unit. So I'm very, very excited to have you guys. And then also, the Ngao family is fully represented. We have Miriam, who happens to be Eva's sister-in-law and Chris's sister. So karibuni sana. Of course, I cannot forget to welcome my lovely audience. Thank you so much, as always, for taking time from your busy schedule to sit with me as we deal and talk and tackle and, indulge each other on the issues affecting women of Kenya. So, of course, to get the ball rolling, I'll go straight to you, Chris. Because it's a Dadas show, we say ladies first, but we're going to do things a little bit different this episode. We'll say gentlemen first. Because here we are always the first ones. So we've mentioned some of the things that, of course, put a knot in my stomach and in the stomachs of very many brides and grooms. And the reason why I wanted you to actually, start us off is because people always have this tendency of thinking that the wedding is primarily for the woman and the man is just peripheral. So I'm very happy that you can actually take time. So we've talked about things that can ruin your big day. And we mentioned that you guys had an experience, one for the books. Kindly share with us your story.
Wow, thank you so much. I am grateful to be here, and of course with my wife, Eva. I can't forget to say that. Well, I think the whole thing of planning a wedding is a huge, or rather I would say it's something which, of course, the expectations vary depending on what you want. But I think everyone expects, or rather they want to have the best of a wedding, ever, which I think, of course, is a desire of everyone. But I think for us, or rather for me, let me say for us, because it wasn't my experience alone. We had, I would say we had an awesome day, or rather we had a great experience from day one. But of course, there must be challenges. But of course, the challenges differ from, depending on persons. Whatever challenges we went through, probably they're not the challenges another couple can go through.
Yes.
And I don't know, well, let me just begin from somewhere.
Yes.
Of course, we met some time back, the year 2012, if I'm not wrong. But we did it for so long. Whereby I am not a marriage counselor, so I won't say how long one should date. But I think for us it worked well. And we got married in 2019. So from 2012 to 2019, you can see it's a quite...
it was a lengthy courtship.
Yeah, of course, that was...
Lakini mulikuwa mnataka kujuana?
Let me be honest with you. Tukianza hii kitu hatukujua tutaenda kuana. Which I think is also a good thing. It's good to try, but also because of course no one was ready for marriage. But we didn't know, that as the time went by, rather I think we this thing of friendship and a girl and a boyfriend thing, it became a bit tight. And then we, of course, who can mind that kama umependa msee, si utamoa at the end of the day. And then we found ourselves planning for the wedding. And then I think I can narrate us the story of how we did it. It was not easy, but I remember nilikuwa nimejichocha sana that I'm going now to, of course, to pay dowry. Unajua hapo ndio mwanaume anasikia amefanya ile kitu. And I had some little coins in my account. And I thought actually that money will push me all the way to the wedding. But that thing is not a joke. So in the preparation, or rather in that period of now preparing, of course, you have to plan from your, in our culture. Since I'm a camper, we normally, the people from my side, friends to my family, we are the ones who go to the wife's side to maybe cook and do everything. For us, we do that. Sio eti mtapata mmengojewa. Wewe unanunua kuni huko, unanunua maji.
Hao ni space tu wanawapatia.
Yes, they're just giving you the space and they spectate. They sit down. We can't blame that, because even hata ingekuwa ni msichana wa kwetu ningesema ifanyiwe hivyo. Yeah, so of course that one hatuna shida nayo. It happened as usual. And but you see now there is ile plan here. I have to pay fare because I married from Machakos and my home is Makueni. So kuna kulipia wale wazazi na wale marafiki wao wote gari. For instance, because I was staying in Nairobi, I had to send cars from within Nairobi to go pick them, take them to Machakos. Then I make sure they're taken from Machakos back Makueni, and then the cars are to come back to Nairobi. And then there is also the fact of buying food for the event. Now leave alone the dowry price. That aside. Because some of us...
Hatujafika hata hapo. We are now in the preparation.
In the preparation, yes.
So umeenda ukachukua kuni, umeenda ukahaya gari, wazazi wamebebwa, wameletwa Makueni ama ni Machakos?
Wameletwa Machakos.
Wameletwa Machakos.
Na sio gari moja, sio mbili, na sio tatu. So there is, it's a beauty of every parent kupelekwa na ile rindi. Unajua kila mzazi ako na rindi yake ya pale home. Ile anawapelekanga. So of course it's a beauty of a parent.
Wanagachini wanasema yenyewe, please hapo tuangusha.
Ndio hiyo sasa. Yeah, because every parent anafurahia. So now, of course now hapa, one thing I will say, my inner circle family, like my sisters, because I have only one younger brother. Me, I'm the fifth born. And Miriam, she's our firstborn. Wow. So now amenilea sana. So now, we didn't have a supportive I think family apart from my sisters. So we're doing it alone. We have uncles doing nothing. We have aunties doing nothing, which is okay because you can give whatever you will or you wish. Hatuna shida. But now here we are alone. So at this particular moment, I had to give all I had. Unanunua chakula ya a lot of money. You fuel all these cars, some of them you hire. Of course, to make sure the first event, as a man, you want the first event.
The first impression is everything.
Uonekane umefanya kitu ya maana. Yeah, and so I remember I spent a lot of money until immediately after the event, I realized I had nothing. Immediately after the dowry, I realized, wow. Now, of course, we have paid some little money for the prize. I wouldn't say we paid a lot. But you see, since we don't buy, we normally say hapo ndo najichocha. Hiyo kidogo unasema because I'm not buying, let me give what I have. But of course, we gave what we gave, and which the parents, of course, appreciated, my in-laws. And but when I went back to Nairobi, the reality hit my brain, and I realized I had nothing. Because you see, there is also the fact now nimemaliza dowry in the month of March. I think day 29th, if I'm not wrong. Or April 29. You see, muna to understand, unajua sisi hatujuangi, even I know she remember even the day I proposed, hata ile siku nimkatia maybe na
but
even
nakupatia marks because you knew so much and you're on the show, that's why it's okay. We'll go easy on you. Eva, enda pole pole. At least nakumbuka zingine.
At least okay, I know the date was 29th.
So
anyway, so don't worry, ni maisha.
Yeah. Let's proceed.
So the wedding was in August the same year. On I think 30th or 31st, I can't remember, but I think it's somewhere there. So now after the dowry, of course, now we had to begin to reflect on the wedding day, which we had planned to happen in the 31st of August, the same year that was 2019. And now, if you can do a right math between April, of course, almost the end of April, and now August, that is roughly
5 months. That is give or take, and it's towards the end, so we're looking 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah. So now remember, I actually is around three and a half or to 4 months. Now you need to have this in consideration that I want to do a good wedding and a big wedding. Of course, we had a budget, and she wanted a good wedding, and of course, as a man, that's the only thing you can promise to someone you want to marry anyway. So we had around 3 months to 4 months, and I remember now I have nothing in my account, and I have to make this thing happen. This is when now you begin to look around your circle. You have to check on your friends who can come through for you, and of course the WhatsApp group stuff, and of course doing in our culture we do a lot of pre-weddings to see whether things can work. And now at this particular moment, I honestly have nothing, but I do want to tell her. Because at that particular moment, stay kuchoma bet. I still want to remain relevant. And that man who, has promised good life in future. Which of course every man I know, they want to do that. Now, the planning season, of course, iliendelea. And now the D-Day approach, and of course we go to that day. Of course, I had involved some suppliers, maybe for tents, for chairs, for cake, and all this stuff. Of course, we know what happens. But the money I collected from the WhatsApp group, from the pre-weddings, was not enough. So what I had to do, of course, I had to cut down on cost. But even in the cutting down, of course, I realized that there was
not enough.
It was not enough. And there are things you have ordered and you can't change. You can't change a cake while it's already baked.
Yes.
And you have to pay the full amount. So I was pressed to a corner. But what I did, I shared with her. Nikamwambia kuna noma. So what we do, wacheza chini tupige hiki tuwe niachie. And I tried to sort 1, 2, 3 stuff. And of course, the wedding day came, and we paid what we could afford to pay at that particular one, but I had some deficit here and there. And I remember the wedding day came, and of course, bibi harusi akachukuliwa, and I remember very well that wakati bibi harusi alichukuliwa, there was some, kulikuwa na vitu kidogo, we had 2 accidents on the same day.
Oh,
because one of my close friend who had gone to pick her, because ndio mama ndio wanaenda kuchukua msichana, sisi wandugu tuko on the other end. I think alichanganyikiwa pale Mombasa Road, so instead of just using the right way of approaching a road, alikata katikati, so she was hit badly by a lorry. The good thing, and we thank God, no one was injured, but the car was properly injured. It was properly destroyed and damaged. That was the first incident. Then along the way, on the same trip, as they were approaching church, one of our lady who was actually taking care of the kids, or the, tule tusichana tunasimamia harusi pale, she had a car. She was, of course, having on board some of the girls who was, of course, in the team. Yeah, and she was right behind the bride's car, and she properly hit that car. The car braked, and she could not control. She could not, of course, brake as that car had done. So she had to hit the car from the back.
So those are 2 accidents?
2 accidents on the same day.
On the same day?
Harusi ijaanza, sijaona hata mrembo.
Na ujaona mrembo.
Napewa story tu.
And we were talking about the things that could go wrong. Haya, continue.
Yeah, so of course, something which we had not planned, it happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
That they also entered in traffic. We had given them another route. They chose another route. And the route they chose, traffic. They said it for around 3 hours.
Wow.
So now I'm in church. I'm waiting until I'm tired. There's that tension. People are preparing, you're seeing people in church, I'm still in the car. You're seeing people in church, they're very impatient. Unajua wanataka kuona bibi harusi. And I'm making calls and they're still stuck in traffic. But of course, najipea moyo. And we had planned that the wedding will kick off at exactly 10. And remember, by 9 they were on road, so they would have made it on time. But the wedding began at some minutes to 1. And of course, we did the wedding. It was colorful, it was awesome, it was great. And of course, nikapoa msichana, mimi nikaoa. Mimi nikakapia nikajua niko fiti.
Yes.
Tukapiga reception. And of course, we finished up everything well. But pale kwa kumalizia, another issue came up.
Oh dear.
Now, tumemaliza, of course, wedding. After wedding, kila mtu ana expect nyinyi mnaenda honeymoon, wase wanaishi hao, so wamekula keki na chakula. So what I did, nilikakaa pale, and after kukakaa pale kidogo kungoja wazazi waende nyumbani, nikaamua let me just chill out, ningoje kusort. So one of the service providers came. I had paid I had a deficit of around 30,000. So she came. I had promised her that I will pay the money on Sunday after the wedding. That on Sunday evening or Monday after everything is settled. Of course, kawaida inakuanga hivyo some other time. So this lady came. I still respect her. She's my friend. She came and she demanded the money which we had agreed I'll give on Sunday evening or Monday. And she said I need the money. So I didn't have money there. Harusi hata ufikiri kitu. And I feel nimeachieve, mimi juu harusi yangu imi, so size tag pressure. Nikampea, I had 12,000 in my pocket, of course. Tuka get some money from the envelope. Unajua machwani pale zinawekwa mingi.
Na ulikuwa umeketi ukifikiri umeona bahasha.
Unajua ukiona kana bahasha unajua ni madhao. Alafu msee andiki jina. Ndio usiende kujua. So huwezi jua nani ameleta chwani na nani ameleta 100 na nani ameleta 1000. So of course I gave out 12,000. Nikajua of course ita sort. But she wasn't happy. So mimi nikamwambia wewe tutaongea. Si wewe ni best yangu, tutaongea. You had worked with her before. And nikafanya vitangu. Now I heard some commotion that I received a report that at the gate where we were supposed to exit from, kuna shida. Then I was like, I tried to find out, only to realize that nilikuwa nimekujiwa. I was told there was a Land Rover from Parklands police station, you know. What? And I was like, wow. And you know, I didn't know first of all what was the issue.
You're seeing a police car, you're seeing nini, walikukujia na ile Mariamu ama walikukujia na kale kadogo?
Walikuja, wakuja na ile kubwa sana. It was this Land Rover car. This gari kiko na nyuma pale kiko. Maabusu mahali wanawekwa. So of course, what even made me laugh, mimi I'm a very small and tiny man, but nilikuwa nimekujiwa na so many cops. Mpaka nikashinda kwani nimeua mtu. Actually I didn't understand what was happening. Yeah. And the next thing of course mkubwa anakuja ananiambia we had come to arrest you. That was like about what have I done? And I was told no. Remember nimevaa bado nguo za harusi.
Of course, it's still your wedding.
So nikaambiwa I have to get arrested. Tukasumbuana hapo for 1 2 3 some few minutes and you know tukaona hiki kitu haiwaka. Mimi nikajam nikamwambia nikunishika. Twende. And then mimi nikaingia kwa Land Rover nyuma.
What? On your wedding day?
On my wedding day.
Oh dear.
Sasa hizo sijui wife nimemwacha wapi. Juu hata akili sasa hizo it is running very fast.
I mean, you know, when we are discussing these things, well, we'll come back to you. But when we're discussing some of these things, when we start off and you're writing, you know, when you're thinking about and how you introduce the show, I mean, when I was thinking about all the list of the things that can go wrong, I don't think I had taken into consideration the things that you have actually experienced on that day. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh, wow, things can move, you know, things can go from 0 to 100 in a split second. Now, Noreen, let's come to you. Every wedding is different. Every couple is different. No two couples are alike. Of course, Eve and Chris have already talked about the duration that which they spent, you know, courting, and then the duration between, you know, the dowry ceremony and the wedding, and having a budget and all of that. But what are some of the considerations that couples should actually put in mind when coming up with a wedding budget?
So the first thing, obviously, before you set the date, you have to figure out what is the budget, what is your amount of money, and the budget is determined by the number of people you have. Is it 200, is it 300, 500? So that if you know the number of people, then you can start looking for a venue. And then the venue will determine, can this venue hold this much people, or can I do decor, or whatever I want to do, the vision I have for the wedding, can this venue fit this particular, my wedding? And then the budget now, yes. And also the things to consider is, what do you want? What type, do you want an indoor wedding or an outdoor wedding? And of course the advantage of indoors, no tent, or do you have a budget that can cover tent, and what type of tent? What is the vision for your decor? That's the first thing to consider.
So you have the vision for the decor, but you also need to know what kind of wedding am I looking at? Am I looking at 20 people? Am I looking at 100 people? And that sort of dictates how you move from there. Yes. Now, Eve, we've had, and of course we did have an opportunity to see. So ladies and gentlemen, the story does have a good ending. I know, I'm sorry for cutting, but for the sake of time, Eve did come to rescue Chris with the remaining money, which was still technically still in their wedding, even though in the wee hours of the morning. Eve, if you had a chance to do it all over again, you know, I know we don't get do-overs in this here life. You know, once it's happened, it's happened. But if you had a chance, if you had a magical time machine and you're taken back to that particular day, I've forgotten the date like Chris. So when you're taken back to your wedding day, what would you do differently? Even, actually not even just a wedding day, but even in the planning, what would you do differently, my dear?
Okay, for me, if we were to go back again, I would choose to work with some people. Maybe some people are trustworthy, Some people may not disappoint you, like the service provider who disappointed us, who arrested him. And I would choose also to do something cheaper in case if the budget did not, in case kama budget haijatosha, na choose kufanya vitu differently, nafanya vitu, nachagua vitu cheap. But si zile mbaya, unachagua kitu cheap yenye itakufanya vizuri. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think that's a very good outlook, and you'd hope that brides at home would be learning a thing or two. I mean, because this here life, you know, every decision, every step that you see people making should be a learning experience. So if we look at the situation, there's something that really did stand out for me, because the dowry ceremony was in April, and the wedding was in August. In August. So even by me, that feels like it's a pretty short period for, you know, the turnover. So how long, you know, people go according to their own pace. Like we said, no two couples are alike, no two budgets are alike, no two weddings are alike. But from your professional opinion, how long before a wedding should you start planning for it?
I always recommend a year too. 1 year is enough for you to start visualizing the wedding and planning the wedding. It gives you enough time to like play with the budget and you also get discount from vendors. Like for example, if your wedding is in December next year, if you start looking for vendors right now, you're able to give like, I want to book you, so give me a discount. So that's a better way of planning. Give yourself 1 year to be able to, usiharakishe, feel pressured. I always recommend 1 year.
Wow, that's a good time. So at least on average 1 year, it gives you at least an opportunity to be ahead of the curve, you know, so that you can be able to source out different type of vendors, you know, and etc. So let's come back to you, my friend Chris. How much impact do you feel like social media had? Not social media, how much impact or influence from peers and family and society did you feel when you were planning the wedding? Because sometimes you guys have one thought process, you as a couple, but then your parents want this. Akina Miriam here have their own opinion and they want it to be heard. How much influence and impact did the people around you have on the decision, on your wedding planning?
I think even for me to get to the point of being arrested, it was out of the pressure of wanting to do something massive, which I think I wasn't ready for. And I think, of course, as you plan for something, I know for them, those who maybe do research, you have to check out who has done it ahead of you and how have they done it. And of course, there's a pressure of, I want to do it like so-and-so. I wish if I would do like so-and-so. And of course that gives you pressure, because some of them, they are your friends and they are people you're looking up to. Like I remember like our parents, now they are our best couple. They did a wedding which was, I think was over 1 million. They were just sharing with us to encourage us, not to brag, but to encourage, because they are people we know very well. But now looking at it, or even me, I felt like I can also do it. But I didn't know I didn't have the capacity. So as much as there is the pressure within and without, you know, what we are seeing on social media, how we're hearing people are doing their weddings, and, you know, the kind of pressure which is there, I think it's also good, I think, to know your muscles and appreciate what you have. Because one thing I know, love is not defined by all this stuff.
True.
Yeah,
Very
because
true.
I think there is a difference between the love and the, you know, the wedding is an event. Marriage is the thing.
That is true.
Because there's nowhere, because you see, if you're doing a wedding, it means that you are following, it's a biblical kind of stuff. So I don't see anywhere in the Bible we speak of weddings as per se, we speak of marriage. And that is what even God honors. So I think it's better for someone to concentrate on the marriage part, because all these things are PR. I will say something I was doing a research about, and I realized I spent over 400,000 to make people happy. But the only thing I enjoyed from it was the ring and the certificate and the wife. And remember, I had already paid something to be just given. So the event, everything I spent on that event, it didn't benefit me as a person or her. So I think it is good to think of something which will not give you pressure, because pressure is there. Yeah, as much as you are doing, that's why we normally say marriages are different. The same way marriages are different, even the events should be done differently.
Should be done different. And I like what you said. It's important to know your muscle. It's important to be honest about your muscle and be honest with your partner. You see, you carried the burden with you for a very long time without sharing with Eva. And perhaps maybe Eva would have told you, you know what, I don't want such a big thing. Can we scale down on this? So I think for would-be couples back at home and people who are thinking about taking the plunge, I think the first thing is also, let's just be very honest with each other as you pursue the goals. Be on the same page, know your muscle, etc. Now, before we go on a break, I want our sister Miriam to tell us something. With this whole ongoing trends and friends and it's in the spirit, it's very African for us to, actually it's very Kenyan for us to ask for assistance from our family members, from our colleagues, etc. See, that is all in the spirit of Harambee. Now, lately, especially with the entrance of an app called WhatsApp, you find yourself added. I had someone complaining and talking about being in 4 or 5 different wedding committees, and they do not have a particular association to the people or the couple that is getting married. I want to know what your take is, because here I'm sure you were in the committee because this is your brother. I mean, that is rightfully expected. But what's your take on the WhatsApp from your acquaintance? Yule mama alikuuzia nguo 2010 anaolewa, sasa anataka umchangie. What's your take in all that, Miriam?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Okay, according to me, the issue of WhatsApp, somehow it has become a nuisance somehow, because you find that everybody is getting married. Like, if not a wedding, it's a dowry. If not a dowry, then it's a pre-wedding. So you find that it has lost meaning. Before, we used to see it like something that can help us, but for now, it's not helping. So my take is, before you do a wedding, it's good to work within your means. If you don't have money, do not rely on WhatsApp groups, because like the WhatsApp group that we had during Chris' wedding, we had so many pledges which were not met. You see, so we had those pledges. We had assumed that the pledges would be paid. So you see, now you budget for something that we don't have. So I think from where I'm seated, I think before you do a wedding, just check your pocket, check your savings, check your income, and work within your means.
Wow. I think that's, we can't even say anything else. Thank you so much, Sister Miriam. We are going to go on a short break, and then we will come back for the question and answer session. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Wama Africa, located on Mudangari Road in Lavington. Wama is a social enterprise restaurant, bar, and function space which trains young adults living with disability and special needs. Wama is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner from 8 a.m. till late, 7 days a week. Walk-ins are welcome.
Welcome back. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show, which is the question and answer interactive session between my panel and my wonderful audience. Of course, I'm sure they have so many questions for Eva and for Chris and for Noreen and for Miriam. So we are going to start off with Faith. Faith Candley.
Thank you so much, Ashiko, and for also introducing this topic. At least for now, some of us might reconsider marriage. So my question goes to the couples. do you feel like wedding vendors and suppliers take advantage of the couples? Another question, you talked of your financial status, like after the wedding, you went to a crisis. Maybe you know that should be your happy moment, but now you don't have finances. How do you come out of that situation? And did it affect you emotionally?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. I mean, I welcome the couple. You know, do you feel like in the whole process of this, when you talked about a vendor who of course, when you do an LPO, there's a 28-day limit, etc. Do you feel like that, you know, a vendor took advantage of you, and at the same time, did that financial strain cause any strain in your very new, very fresh marriage? So we'll start off with you, Chris.
Well, I think there's something I need to say before even I answer that. I remember this, my supplier was to make us food. When the wedding approached, I had to change. I told her, no, I want you to cut the budget because I think we don't have money. And she refused. And then I had paid some deposit because now there was a huge difference from the amount we wanted it cut. So after she refused, we had to look for another supplier for food in like 4 days to the wedding. So you see that that issue, first of all, you refusing as a supplier to probably listen to your client, I think is also a challenge to many, because I think you as a supplier need to work with my budget. That is what I believe. So as I now get back to the question that she had put along, I think there are some who do, there are some who don't, because I believe there should be a negotiation. When the wedding gets closer, it's good for the supplier or the vendor to get back to their clients and ask them, are we okay? Have we managed to get to the budget of, you know, whatever thing? That is, if whatever thing they're supplying, it can be changed even hours to the wedding. Because maybe like things like seats. I have a story of a close friend who it happened during COVID. And actually the wedding was, the government announced that the weddings will not happen on Friday when their wedding was Saturday. Mm-hmm. And the supplier was bringing tents, seats and everything. She refused to actually bring down, you know, to cut on cost. She said, because we'd agree, you have to pay the whole amount. You have to pay the full amount which we had agreed before, whether there are people to sit on the tents or not. So you see, that is such a bad spirit from the vendors, because I think they need to understand their clients well. Because now when I'm there, I'm doing the wedding, I'm their client, and I also refer them to, because now for me, for instance, that client, that vendor who actually we had an issue with, I don't think I can recommend to anyone else.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I mean, I do want, sorry to cut you short, I do want to actually hear what Noreen has to say about that, because if we are getting to a point of hearing, like for some things change, I mean, how flexible are wedding agreements? How flexible are vendor agreements? Because things change. Like for instance, the one for the COVID, if there's been a government, you know, have passed a rule and have said that there are no more weddings and the wedding is supposed to be tomorrow, we're expecting 10,000 people and now we cannot do more than 15 people. I mean, what is the malleability in such a situation? What does that say? Is there a code that vendors operate by?
Yes, there is. And I'll answer this with one of the don'ts. Don't pay any vendor without a contract. That's why you have a contract, and the contract says everything that the vendor is supposed to bring. So, for example, if it is the seats, you had a budget of 500. COVID came and no more weddings. So through the contract, there has a clause where it says, in case a pandemic clause, in case this and this happen, we have plan B to plan B. So that's one of the ways that you can maybe help yourself so that the vendor can not take advantage of you, because most of the couples, they do not understand what it takes for a vendor to bring items to you. For example, Chris had a problem with the budget for food. So it's 4 weeks, 1 week to the wedding. If there was a clause, he would have known how to communicate that earlier. So the vendor has already budgeted this thing, has already committed money on the particular job. I do wish that more vendors can be flexible to understand the client, as well as also the client understanding the vendors.
Understanding. So if
It's a
we are not on the
relationship.
understanding the vendors and understanding that, the kind of flexibility that is offered, because if we're looking at something like food, I mean, this is maybe an industry that I mean have a little bit knowledge on, because they're not going to start purchasing things a month before. I mean, they may want to book, but they cannot start purchasing. If we're looking at things maybe, you know, a dress, for instance, now that's a completely different ball game, because if items have to be ordered from Paris or whatever, then they have to be done in advance. But for food, you know, what is the duration that you can start changing arrangement for something like food?
Most vendors in their contract, they say a month to the wedding. If you give a month to the wedding, there's a certain percentage that you might lose in terms of the deposit that you've made. Yes. Most of the vendors are very flexible.
Yes.
You just communicate early. That's the key.
Yeah. Well, it's a numbers game, I suppose. Anyway, let's move on to Eve. Was there any form of strain, you know, in the relationship? I mean, it would be expected, but how did you guys mitigate that?
Okay, haikuwa rahisi vile kwetu, but I think Chris can handle it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think in that particular moment, as we normally, unajua ile ni time ya kujichocha, wacha tuongee ukweli. This is a truth which everyone needs to understand, that it is so bad that I have married her just hours after the wedding and then I have no money. For her to realize I had no money. So I think it took us some time, but what we did, and I think helped us, first of all, I was clear to her that I don't have money. And then even though now we'll plan for anything, she was aware that there is no money. And the money I had was very little. So what we did, we made sure we operated within what we had, even though it's to cancel for so-called honeymoon, because what we did actually, we didn't go for honeymoon. We had to cancel it, and sisi tukaenda. You know, people when they thought we had gone for the honeymoon, actually we went for a prayer mountain to pray, because now we thought tulidhani Mungu.
Attack history.
Unajua, you have to ask yourself. Unajua pia unacheza. You are trying that hata kuwa na second thought. Andokuwa ni ndugu. Nini. So we had to go for a prayer center. This is after juu kiliumana. So we had to go to pray. And from there, of course, God gave us direction. And then things picked up.
Okay, so it's good to know at least that's a good foundation, you know, a faith-based foundation, and of course it was able to help you. So we need to move on. So we're going to go, the next question is from Ken.
Well, my question is directed to the event planner, and my question is, how do you deal with the situation of a low budget scenario, where we have a couple who have a low budget and they approach you? How would you tackle that? Again, on the issue of maybe a couple who give you a task to plan the event, and maybe they have financial strength, and you are also in the picture. How do you tackle the same? Thank you.
Okay.
When you come to me and you have a low budget, what I normally do is understand your vision of what you want for your wedding, and then I see if you're realistic with your budget. The vision and your budget should come along the same, it should be the same place. So once you give me that, then we are able to work within the budget. What are the most important things that you want them to be or you want to have in your wedding? And then now we allocate that. On the second question, personally, I've never had an experience where a couple is unable to pay for a vendor, but I have heard of a friend where the couple were expecting the money from Bahasha to offset the vendor. And like you have heard, it's a do not budget other people's money. Do not budget. Lower your budget. If you have to lower the number of guests to be able to work with what you have in your hands, what you can bring out. Don't budget with other people's money. That's what I can say.
Our next question comes from Consolata.
So my next question is to Eva. Clearly the day was just getting worse and worse, so I'm sure we all know how you came to Chris's aid. And at that moment, what type of emotions were you experiencing?
Okay, thank you for that question. Of course, we had to go and withdraw the money that had remained. Then tukaenda tukamtoa, tukaenda tukatafuta hoteli ya dhao, tukalala siku 2-3. Then on Tuesday tukaenda Prayer Mountain kwenda kuomba, then Mungu come through. So we thank God, ilikuwa tu sawa.
Wow. So you see how plans can change. You know, guy. Someone in the morning woke up for a wedding, they had all this arranged, and then now you're finding yourself in a hotel for 1,000 on the night of your wedding. Wow. But of course, we do applaud you guys, and we are so happy that that was in 2019. We are here in 2022. You people still look as happy and as in love as ever. So I think it goes to push the point further. You know, the wedding is an event. The task is the marriage. So we are going to have our final question of the day, and this is going to come from Zipporah.
My question goes to Lauren. What are some of the do's and don'ts of planning a wedding?
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'll start with the do's. Do remember that you are the one in charge of the guest list, that you can choose whom you want in your wedding. You don't have to listen to parents wanataka ulete mama flani, auntie flani. It is your wedding, it is your day, so you are in charge of the wedding guest list.
Yes.
And the number, you also have to know that the number of guests determines the budget. So you have to be very careful or very attentive in the people you're adding, that you want in your wedding. Is this person going to be, do you value this person? Because you're going to spend like a budget of 5,000 per person. So is this person worth it? Is this person going to disappoint you? Because once you pay for food for 200 and then 150 come, the 50 is a loss. Mm-hmm. So remember that you do have a say in your guest list. My second is do ask for help. A lot of people are willing to help you and support you, so you can delegate some of the things that you do. You're not allowed to do everything. So ask for help. If you have a planner, delegate some of these duties to them, and someone you can trust. That is your bride's maid of honor.
Yes.
Someone that you can trust, and someone who has the same vision of your wedding. So ask for help. My other is do talk to your partner and list down the most important things that you want on your wedding. Mm-hmm. Make the list that you would want to see and the vision of the day. And then this could be the type of tent, wedding garden or indoor, nataka maua this much, nataka backdrop, discuss all of it. And then my fourth would be, out of the list that you have done, at least take 3 or 4 priority. That this is a must that I have. And because these are priorities and it's a must that I do have, we are going to allocate the most money or part of the money. And then once you do that, you see that your list is going down. Mm. So you have the most important things, the rest ni basic. Get a wedding on the day coordinator, someone who is going to guide and make sure that your vision and your investment goes as planned. Mm-hmm. So I go to the don'ts. Don't hire or take family as vendors. Number one, the reason why is 90% of the time we have advised a couple not to take maybe an usher or a planner as a family member. Everything goes wrong or something will go wrong. Why? Because this family member is there to have fun on your wedding, has come to attend your wedding. So they're not obligated to maybe have accountability on the duties that you've given them. That's number one. Two, maybe your family is a good photographer, but are you guaranteed that being that it is your wedding, ata have fun, ama
Atakupiga picha.
atakupiga picha. So I always discourage you taking a family member or a friend as part of your wedding vendor.
Yeah.
The other don't is don't hire vendors based on their price alone. The most important thing would be to make sure that they align with your vision and they are good fit for your wedding. That way you're able to have options. It's not always about the price. Sometimes it's the vision, and sometimes this person might be good or might be higher but doesn't understand your vision. The other thing is don't assume the prices of wedding items or the needs. Do research. Ask for, if you don't have a planner, ask for if it's a quotation for photography, if it's a quotation for wedding decor. Ask for at least 4, then compare and you will know, okay, so centerpiece is natokanga this much. Oh, so this is the price that it would cost me to hire a car.
Yes.
So you're able to see, can I afford this? Is this within my budget? And also, the planner will help you to manage your budget, budget management. And also, sometimes couples see something on social media and they want exactly that, not understanding that getting that is not aligning with your budget. So do not assume the price of wedding items.
Yes.
The other thing is, I talked about it, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. Don't pay any vendor without a contract. Working with a vendor is a business transaction. So what you do, make sure that you have a contract with everyone that is supposed to perform any duties on the wedding day.
That's a lot of information. That's really good, and I think we're going to share with our audience and our friends back at home on all our social media pages. At KBC. We will share with you. You will get to learn more. You will also have the information of our panel, and you can be able to reach out to them. So we've come to the end of today's very exciting show. It's very informative. It was also very insightful. Mr. Chris and Eva tickled us with their harrowing tales. Of course, it's all fun and games, but it's some things that really do need to be taken seriously. So here are my 2 cents on all of this. So as you go ahead making this plans for your beautiful wedding, may you also plan, may you also prepare, may you also invest the same amount of energy, money, and resources in a partnership and working together to build a life and a home. After all, actually this was a quote by someone, I've forgotten who, they said, after all, a wedding is just one day, but a marriage is a lifetime. So on behalf of my production team at KBC, our location partners, Wama Africa, and of course myself, Ashiko Mbune, I thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I'll catch you same time, same day, next week on the Dadas show. Until then, bye-bye and have yourself a lovely week. Goodbye.